And welcome back from that break, Pete's. We are here in the JJ Zone, Join the Journey Radio. Today, broadcasting about Your Rules Are Dumb. I just love the title of the program today. Your Rules Are Dumb. I mean, how many of us make up these rules about how our life is supposed to go, right? We're just setting ourselves up for disappointment, disillusionment, and a host of other negative emotions that are just, quite frankly, completely unnecessary for us to experience. We don't need to be going through life that way. I mean, as we learn from, Second Nephi, chapter 2, I think it's verse 25, and a Philman might be, men are that they might have joy. We're here to have joy. You're not going to get any joy if you're feeling all these negative emotions all the time. So quit setting yourself up for that. Start understanding the way things fit together and start leveraging that knowledge so that you can avoid the unpleasant and unnecessary experiences with negative emotions. You don't need that. You don't need life is too beautiful. Life is too wonderful. Life is too splendid. Now you step back and you think about what is it that makes life splendid, right? It's that variety, spontaneity, which all speak to this aspect that I want to get into in this segment of the program, which is possibility. And this is an aspect that I think is particularly applicable to LDS singles. Because so many of us, we're making these rules about how our life should go. Well, invariably, when you make every rule that you make is cutting off possibility, right? It's cutting off possibility that puts us in a bind, because however it is that you're defining success, right? Uh, the more restrictions you put on what actually constitutes success. So you're actually tightening the boundaries around what success means, right? And this is how we create meaning, right? By establishing boundaries between what something is and what something isn't. So, when you cut off possibility, right? You cut off. You're tightening that restriction on what success really means. And the tighter you make those restrictions, the more life is just going to become unbearable, because it's the possibility, right, that increases your probability of success. We increase probability of success by allowing for more possibilities to count towards success. And that means loosening up the boundaries between what is and is not success. So when you make these rules for how your life is supposed to go, you're basically putting a stake in the ground. You're marking off the space where, success is and success is not. Because this rule that says your life has to go a certain way, I have to get married by the time I'm, so many years old. And let's just use a common number, 30. I have to get married by the time I'm 30 years old. Just use this as an example. Because 30 is a common number that a lot of singles use. So let's just, let's make this applicable. What happens if that doesn't happen? Well, a lot of people go batting crazy, right? It's like, oh no, what? Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm gonna cry fast. Ah! I mean, it's break down. They break down. And of course, a lot of that is facilitated by they know that when they turn 31, they're getting kicked out of their YSA group. So now they feel like they don't even have a place where they belong anymore. Now, of course, that wouldn't be true if many people in the single adult category, especially those in leadership, had a real vision of what they were supposed to be doing. But, sadly, 90+% of them don't. And so, it's one of the reasons why I joined the Journey Radio is here, so we can help people have more effective ways of thinking and seeing, and so we can actually, bless the people. That's what it really comes down to, blessing other people's lives. So, yeah, I mean, I'm getting sidetracked here. But yeah, you want to increase the probability of your success. The way to do that is by being more accepting of possibility. Look at possibilities of what's acceptable. And we cut ourselves off so much, So if you have this expectation that you're going to be married by age 30, right? So if you meet with that expectation, great. But what happens if you don't? Because, you probably know this, but just to make sure, you're setting this expectation about an event that involves the agency of another person. So, as we talked about in the last segment, you're expecting other people to act in a certain way. They're not going to, right? Almost invariably, you're going to get disappointed. And, the way most of us approach this thing called singles life, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment because of the way that we choose to approach it. We want people to accept us as we are. We're not willing to do the work to make improvements in ourselves. We're not willing to do the work to become our best selves. We're not willing to do the work to become a more attractive and acceptable companion. And that's what holds us back because, again, going back to the fundamentals of the dating journey, if you want to advance to any stage of the dating journey, you have to secure the agreement connected with that stage. And when you don't secure the agreement, you don't progress to that stage. The only way, the agreement's all you need. You don't need anything but the agreement. The agreement alone is what advances you to that stage of the dating journey. And every stage has its own agreement. So no agreement means no progress. So many of us who aren't making progress on our dating journey, getting all frustrated, well, you need to take a step back and say, okay, the reason why I'm not progressing is because I'm not securing the agreement that I need to make the progress I want. Now, how do you secure an agreement? How do you secure any agreement? It's by being acceptable enough. And this is where, a lot of us are standing in our own way. We are our own worst enemy. Because if only we would have the discipline to do the work that's needed to change ourselves into something that's more acceptable, we'd have an easier time securing that agreement that we need. It's really no more complicated than that, And so, when we have these expectations about how our life is supposed to be, we make these rules and say things like, I'm going to get married by the time I'm 30. There are a lot of people that, they make that expectation and, they get married before they're 30 and some get married at 30, like for last minute. But and they're okay because, their expectation is satisfied. And so that's where they avoid the disappointment because they've satisfied the expectation. It's when you don't satisfy the expectation that you run into disappointment. And, that's what I'm saying. Hey, I think there's more of us that, when we're making that expectation, that rule about how life is supposed to go, and it involves the agency of other people, more than likely you're going to get disappointed because people are just plain imperfect. And so unless you're willing to do the work, unless you're willing to make changes in you, unless you're willing to, follow the rules for yourself, follow the rules that your best self would follow so that you become more acceptable and, secure the agreement that you need to make the progress you need in your dating journey, you're going to be frustrated as a single. You're going to be frustrated while you're single. That's where a lot of this is coming from. So, if you get your thinking right, And a huge part of your thinking is your assumptions. You know, life can just open up to you. When you get rid of this, assumption that life needs to go according to a certain plan in order for it to work out, and you just embrace the uncertainty, embrace the variety, embrace the, the, um, embrace the beauty, really, embrace the possibility, the beauty of possibility. Okay, that's what you need to embrace, the beauty of possibility. And, when you embrace that, and then life will open up for you. Life will open up for you. And, the story that I shared in the monologue is so emblematic of this. Guy, single, thinking that, he's got this expectation, this rule that says he has to marry a blonde or he won't be happy. Well, he ended up letting go of that rule, marrying a redhead, and, the result was he's happier than ever imagined he could be. We make all these rules and expectations about how our life should be. And most of these rules are just superfluous. They're completely unnecessary. And they're actually standing in our way, standing in the way of us having the most joy that we can have in our lives. If we just get rid of them, let go of those expectations and just be willing to embrace the uncertainty, be willing to embrace the variety, the spontaneity, be willing to embrace the beauty of possibility. That's when life can start to open up for you. And that's when you can start to feel like, hey, I actually have possibilities. And that's when you start feeling more hopeful. You focus on those possibilities. You start feeling more hopeful for the future. Start feeling more hopeful for your future. And it's easier to, have that discipline to conform to the rules that your best self would be living. And so things just start coming together. It really, peeps, it's a beautiful thing when you embrace it. We're coming to a break. Let's go ahead and take that break. When we come back from the break, I have some final worthy thoughts to wrap up the program with. I will see you there on the other side.